Welcome to the Limitless Entrepreneur Podcast, your weekly dose of strategies and mindset tools to build a business in alignment with your purpose and get you playing a bigger game. I'm your host, Nicole Leno.
Hello and welcome to the Limitless Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Leno, and we are going to have a little chat today. We're going to expand the conversation that we've already started on this show about human design and about being an emotional authority. Now, if you're an emotional authority, this is what I am. And this has just been coming up so much in my business, so much in the conversations that I'm having with people online on this show. But even the people that I meet in Facebook groups or who write me on Instagram, a lot of the questions that they don't even know that they're dealing with emotional authority. But when I dig into it and they're asking certain questions, the first question I ask is, what is your authority? Are you an emotional authority or are you X, depending on what type they are? And 9 out of 10 times they tell me that they are emotional. And it's because there's so much confusion around this center. So this has been the center of the work that I've been doing with most of my clients as well. It has been around deconditioning. And really what we're doing when we're dealing with a defined center is it's either healthy or unhealthy. You're either able to harness the energy and power of that center or you're not. And you're using it in a lower frequency, and typically it's causing suffering in your life in some way. And for the emotionals, it causes chaos. Typically it causes chaos and it causes a lot of fear. And we're going to get into all of that. Now, if you haven't listened to episode 85 of this show, was all on being an emotional authority, where I covered the basics of being an emotional authority, what it means, how you can start to navigate it. I gave some really detailed examples of a big life decision in my life that I made through emotional authority before I even knew I was an emotional authority. So just how I made a really great decision in my life. I talk about this big life decision that I made and how, unbeknownst to me at the time, I was doing it very much in accordance with my authority, with my type and authority, with my strategy and authority. And it was one of the best and most pivotal decisions I made in my life. And I remember it being a very deliberate process that was really intuitive for me at the time. And now it's something that I can apply, knowing what I know about my design. And what I advise my clients on is really navigating this. And I'll say, with that story, I had one time where I did it. And then I had many times where I did not follow my strategy and authority. And that caused for me, it ended up causing a lot of chaos in my life and a lot of uncertainty. Because what typically happens with emotional authorities is we want to know why we can't do it as easily as everybody else. Why does it seem so much easier? Why does it seem like the path is so much clearer for other people? And now there can be other aspects of your design that make you feel that way as well. But I find this to be a very consistent pattern and experience for people who are emotional authorities. And it was my experience as well. I could have these periods of really feeling super powerful. And then other times where I was just a wreck. And I didn't know how to get out of it. So this episode, we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to go a lot deeper. We're going to go a lot deeper into it in this episode because, like I said, it's a topic over and over and over again that's coming up with pretty much everybody. So when that happens, I'm like, this is obviously what I'm supposed to be working on right now. This is obviously the work that I am most called to do, and I'm super excited about it. So I have some notes, but you're going to see that I'm going to be riffing a lot in this episode because I'm just so excited that it sort of dissipates the energy if I go off of a script or something like that. So if I bounce around, forgive me, but I promise you all good things are going to be found in this episode. If you're an emotional authority or you have someone who's in your life who's really close to you that's an emotional authority, this is going to be a really impactful episode for you. So some of the specific things that I have seen lately with emotional authorities, those people who I'm reaching out to or who are reaching out to me, having conversations about their design, and then I'm finding out that they're an emotional authority. They ask other questions first. And it's just been this really consistent pattern lately. And what I've been seeing is emotional authorities reaching out and they're saying like, I'm a generator, I'm a manifesting generator, I'm a this or I'm a that. And I am resonating with this other thing, this other type. I think I might be a manifester. Maybe there's something wrong with my chart. I think I might be a projector. I think there's something wrong with my chart. Could it possibly be that if I have this channel active, that I might be more manifester than manifesting generator? There's all of these questions that come up. And really at the heart of it is that they're looking for an explanation for why they are the way they are and some sort of validation. And sometimes, we get that and that might help, but truthfully, it's, if you can't navigate it, just knowing that there is a reason, that's part of it. But then what do you do with that? What do you do with that? How do you make use out of it? Because really what this episode, my goal with this episode, what my goal is for you to understand as an emotional authority that you are a thoroughbred, that you have tremendous power, incredible depth. There is so much for you, but you're scared. So scared that you're looking for a lot of answers, and maybe you are, or you're not finding them, but the answers are not the answer. The answer is about what I'm going to give you in this episode. And also, I will call it out right now. I'm going to be doing a masterclass just on this on November 2nd, I believe is when it is. There will be a link attached to the show notes here. You could go to nicolelano.me/emotional. I'm not even messing around with the title, emotional. It's going to be about becoming powerful in your emotions, how you can become a powerful thoroughbred, right? And when I say thoroughbred, they're traditionally difficult horses to ride because they're really fast. They're really fast. They're really powerful. But when you do, they're incredibly loyal. They are champions, but getting them there can sometimes be difficult. And that's what I want for you. I want you to get there. I want you to get to this spot where I look at it like, and it's timely with what's happening right now. There's a major hurricane going through Florida, and I'm praying for everybody in the path of that storm for your safety and for your homes to be safe or with very little to no damage. We have these storms coming across Florida, and that's made me think about like emotional authority is like living in a storm. So before you learn to navigate it, you're living the storm, and it feels like life's a storm. And what happens is we retreat from it. We go, I can't take it anymore. I have to, and we hide. I have to pull out of this. I can't be in it anymore. So we pull away. And then we end up hiding from our business. We hide from the things, the responsibilities that we have, or we resent them. And we're dealing with it and stuffing these emotions down and trying to pretend the storm's not there. But when you realize, when you learn to master your emotions, when you learn to master your emotional authority, you become the eye of the storm. And that's that calm peace in the center of the storm that drives it. It's this calm center where, and the visual that I get, like if you can see yourself right now as this emotional authority, that you see the storm, now picture yourself at the center of it. And picture the stiller you become, the greater the space of calm is. And you become a refuge. You become the salvation for yourself and for the people around you because you understand the storm more than anyone else can. So a few notes about, well, I'll recap a little bit about how you become an emotional authority. So emotional authority is determined in human design based on the definition of your centers. So, and there's a hierarchy to it. If you have your solar plexus defined, you're automatically an emotional authority, and 50% of the world are emotional authorities. 50% have this center defined. So 50% of us are either being the eye of the storm and harnessing that power being the thoroughbred, and we've got the reins, and we are riding that horse to the finish line. We're either doing that, or we are succumbing to the storm and swept up in it, and the world feels like chaos. And then the other half, they're open in their solar plexus. So if you're listening to this because you're open, but maybe your kids are an emotional authority, maybe your partner is, understanding that dynamic, I highly recommend getting a relationship human design reading so you can understand more about the dynamics of how energy works with these centers, particularly this one. But if you're open, you're experiencing everybody else's emotions. You're taking them in. This is where our empaths, and my experience, most people who identify as highly sensitive persons, that's a new term out right now for people who consider themselves very emotionally sensitive, that those people typically have very little to no definition in their solar plexus. A lot of them are completely open where no gates are active, and they're completely white in that center, because you're taking it in. And when you take in other people's energy in any center, but in this center, you're taking in their emotions, you're taking in other people's emotions, and it can feel like an assault, particularly if someone is not in a good place. So if you are, because if you're open, you're not only taking it in and feeling it, you're amplifying it. You make it bigger. So you feel someone's crummy emotions. My husband is open completely in his emotional center. And when I am in a low point of my wave, he feels it. Now, to me, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. But he'll just look at me, but you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. And that actually usually makes me upset, because I'm just like, yes, I'm fine. Now I understand it, and I'll just tell him, I'll be like, I'm in kind of a weird spot in my wave. That might be what you're picking up on, but no, nothing is the matter. Everything is fine. It's just internally, I think you're picking up on some things that I have going on. And then he's like, okay, he understands this now. So it can be very powerful. It's been really life-changing for us in our marriage, understanding these dynamics. But so understanding that if you're defined in this center, so that's if you're undefined, if you are defined in the center, it's going to be your authority. And authority is your strongest voice. The way the hierarchy works, the reason the emotional authority is the end all be all of authorities, like if you're defined there, that's what you are. It starts there. It's at the top of the authority totem pole, so to speak. Not that it's better than the others, but that it trumps the others, is because it is so powerful. Because it is both an awareness center and a motor. And what that means is it is both processing information, it's thinking, it's feeling. It is also, it wants to move. So it wants to understand. It's taking things in and going, how do I feel about that? Let's see how we feel. And then it's also saying, now let's move. Let's do something. I have all of this energy that needs to move, because it's a motor. It's motorized energy. It's the energy to push, to go. So there's this push-pull that's happening within us. Part of it is saying, wait, we need to feel into this more. And then the other part is like, but where do we put all of this? And that's what we need to master. That's what we need to understand, and not go beyond understanding, that we need to clear out the space for this so that we can be still in the center of this storm. Because this is how you get to be, how you get to redefine productivity as an emotional authority. Emotional authorities, productivity is going to look different for you. So here are a few notes that I had on the solar plexus that I wanted you to understand. So one was that awareness and motorized energy, understanding that this center is so powerful for those reasons, that it does a lot. It's also the center of its spiritual awareness. That is the energetic quality of the awareness of the solar plexus. So another note for you here, for everyone who's spiritual out there, who maybe is trying to tap into their intuition, who, if you're trying to develop a deeper connection with energy, with your highest self, with your intuition, with a higher power, if you're trying to speak to aliens, I don't know what you're trying to do, but if you're looking to connect with something beyond yourself, this center holds a big part of that key, because if it's chaotic in there, it's going to mess with the frequency. Okay, so it's going to mess with your ability to tune into anything else because it's so powerful. It's just going to be taking all of your attention away, and it takes over your body, because it is anatomically, biologically, it's connected to your nervous system. This center rules your nervous system. Your nervous system is what we manifest with. It's our ability to do or not do. Are we moving deliberately and intentionally and under our own control, going after what we desire? Or is our nervous system in a state of fight, flight, or freeze? It's all tied to your emotions. Now, the people who are open emotionally, they don't have it always happening. So they can exit from a situation that feels emotional. When they're by themselves, they feel calm, cool, and collected. If you're an emotional authority, you probably never feel calm, cool, and collected. Not often. There's always something happening. And when you learn to master the center, you can get to the point where it's all happening, but you're not affected by it. You're not drawn into the drama of your emotional system. And that is when you're able to access the wisdom of this center. That is when you are able to access a spiritual connection beyond yourself that is at a new level of depth. And it can't happen until then, because it's like there is another frequency in between you and the thing you want to connect to, whether it's a deeper part of yourself, something outside of yourself. But connecting with it, it's like there's a third frequency in there in between, saying, just muffling the signal. So the key is to learn to clear this center and clear your energy. And then you can't actually experience the power that you have until you've cleaned the frequency of your emotional system. Now, even I used to think that you could clear out emotions. And there's a difference between old emotions, trauma, things that we've dealt with that we're still carrying, stories that cause emotions in us. That's different. That's a trigger response. But this is something different. It's developing a new relationship with your emotions that are happening all the time. And that is when you become wise, and that is when you become truly powerful. So in the masterclass that I will be teaching on November 2nd, and I believe that's the date, it's a Wednesday. On November 2nd, I'll be teaching a masterclass on becoming the powerful emotional power in your emotions. I haven't really named it yet. Names always come later to me. Again, emotional authority. I'm feeling into it, but I'm keeping it really simple. And it's going to be very much about, I'm going to walk you through the 5 steps that I have and the keys to mastering your emotional authority. Because truthfully, if you're diving into human design, and I know there's a lot of information there, and it's fascinating. Trust me on this, it's fascinating. But until you start to decondition your open centers, but for me, when you're, at least with my experience with emotionals, until you actually, it really starts with the emotional center for just about everybody, because if you're open emotionally and you're carrying a lot, then you have to learn to differentiate between your emotions and other people's. But if you're an emotional authority, you've got to learn to ride the wave, not just in the decisions that you're making, but in mastering your state. Your emotional state has to become something that you can hold duality all the time, where you're able to hold the fact that you are in an emotionally, chemically low place. So internally, there's things happening here and delivering you a lower frequency, a vibration of emotion, but that you are not sucked into it mentally, where you develop stories about it, where you try to get out of it, where you develop a different relationship with it, where it's a friend that you walk with, and it is not a burden that you carry. So it's about bringing this is the first step, is bringing this into high frequency, because your authority is how you make decisions. And you aren't going to feel good making a decision as an emotional authority until you are in a healthy state with it. You're never going to be sure. And granted, they say that emotionals, it's true. Most of the time, we're about 80%, 70 to 80% sure of things. And there's always that little bit of doubt because we change, because our emotions are always taking us on some kind of a ride. However, there is a very different level, and I'll speak from my own experience here, a very different level of power when you raise that baseline. So, and what I'm talking about is riding the wave. It moves up and it moves down. As Ra used to say, from hope to pain and back again is where your wave takes you. It takes you from the highest highs to the lowest lows. But there's a middle, there's a baseline that runs through that wave. We can't change that we go high or that we go low, but we can change that baseline. It's like raising the octave on a musical scale. You're playing the same notes, they're just going to be at a higher frequency. So we get to raise your octave. And when you do that, there is a level of power that comes with every step up that octave scale. There is a level of power that gets unlocked for you, a level of certainty. And that is what we manifest with. That is how you become unshakable. That's the first step. It's mastering your authority. And if you're an emotional authority, you are a complex being, because it is a complex center that is your strongest and most reliable voice. But you have to learn to communicate with it in a healthy way. So that is what the masterclass is going to be geared toward. It's going to be one day. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. It's going to be a longer one. It's going to be about 90 minutes, but you don't have to block out like 4 days on your calendar, and replays will be available. So please go over to NicoleLano.me/emotions. Emotional, and sign up for that. Because you will not be sorry. This is going to give you a crash course in being an emotional authority and how you can start to master that piece of your design. And that is the first step to becoming a self-actualized human being, someone who you set your intention and you're able to follow through with it. And I know that that is one of the greatest causes of suffering for emotional authorities is we sometimes feel like we're not in control. We sometimes feel like our emotions take us down, and we don't necessarily know why, and we don't know how to deal with that. And this masterclass is going to walk you through that. So I hope that you join us there. My goal with this is truly to give you all more power. I felt powerless for a long time. I felt like my emotions were just too erratic and like I was under them. And it's a really defeating feeling, and it made me sad. And it's like, I know that I'm this powerful, creative human, but why don't I have access to all of me all the time? And how do I get out of that? And how could I possibly be successful if I can't be consistent? And I'll give you a little clue here at the end of this episode. You're not meant to be consistent. Consistent's going to look very, very differently for you, but it can be a good thing. That's not a surrender. You surrender to it, but that's not you being like, well, I'll never be consistent and I need to be consistent to be successful. Not true. Not true. You need to be in high frequency with your energy. And I promise you, you can do less and make more money when you are working with your energy. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do inside the masterclass. Please join us. I'm very excited about it. If you can't tell, I'm super excited. I'm buzzing about it. Please join us there. And thank you all very, very much. If if you got value from this episode, please share it with your friends, share it on your social media, and please tag me so that I can say thank you to you and share it on my page and with my audience. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody who listens to this show. I appreciate you emotional authority. You've been going through this. And if you are not an emotional authority and you joined this episode anyway, I appreciate you for being interested for the other people in your life and understanding our dynamics as a collective. I applaud every single one of you. Thank you so much for being here and being part of it with us. So I appreciate you. And remember, you are only limited by the limitations that you accept. When you stop accepting those limitations, that is when you become limitless. So go out there and be limitless, my people. I will see you next time.
If you loved this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you want to stay in touch with us, we would love to have you as a part of our Facebook community, Practical Manifestors. It's a community for process-driven women looking for clear and actionable steps to embodying a life of wealth and alignment. Join us at Practical Manifestors in Facebook or go to www.innerceogroup.com.